All right, guys. So on this episode of the Democrat Civil War, this is what, chapter 3, okay, of the Kamala Chronicles at the border, or not at the border, where she should be, right? The affirmative action Vice President Kamala did an interview with Univision, right? A Univision reporter, and she once again basically snapped when asked about the border. Take a look.
¿Cómo le responde usted a él?
I've said I'm going to go to the border. And
When are you going to the border, Vice President?
the administration has asked. I'm not finished. I've said I'm going to the border. And also, if we are going to deal with the problems at the border, we have to deal with the problems that cause people to go to the border, to flee to the border. And that is the root causes. So my first trip as Vice President of the United States was to go, in terms of a foreign trip, to Guatemala, to be on the ground there, to address and to be informed of the root causes. Why are the people of Guatemala leaving?
Do you have a date? ¿Tiene una fecha para su viaje a la frontera para ver la situación con sus propios ojos?
I will keep you posted.
I have to.
All right, guys. So this is Kamala's what, second, third, fourth time snapping about the border, right? Being asked about the border. And listen, even the liberal media, okay, it's just like, we're done with this. Why are you not going to the border? Because they even know that it's a bad look. They know that this is a terrible political strategy. Even they know that, right? And this is why I have to keep covering this, guys, because I'm just giving the Democrats a taste of their own medicine, right? They forever hammered Trump about what was going on at the border, and they had the same crisis under them. And now all of a sudden, Kamala wants no part of it, okay? But honestly, guys, I think it's a lot deeper than what the liberal media is letting on. But, you know, there are some people in the liberal media that are automatically going to try to defend Kamala by playing the race card.
I mean, these challenges in Central America are long and tractable problems, right? And they started a long time ago. And I think the fact that this administration has committed itself from the beginning to addressing these issues is really important, because these solutions are not going to happen overnight. I also think that you're right, and Senator Murphy was right. What we do in this country is watched very closely by our regional partners and allies, and that's especially true for the Southern Hemisphere. And I also want to say, on that note, the fact that Kamala Harris, I don't think this has been covered very much or been covered by the pundits very much. The fact that Kamala Harris is visiting there as the first woman, female vice president, the first woman of color to visit that region, herself a child of immigrants, that speaks volumes as well to the people of those countries.
Well, I will say again, was it a perfect answer? No. But to say that her career or her trip or her substance should be criticized by one answer is often what happens to Black women. We have this standard of perfection. I agree. Kamala Harris is up for the job to be vice president, and she deserves criticism. But answering one question wrong should not actually be a whole news cycle. She said she's going to the border. We should take her for her word. She actually went to Guatemala because her purpose is to handle the root cause. But I think the fact that we're actually like making our point for us is that Black women are often held to a different standard and are scrutinized at a level, called defensive, called flippant, called all these things because we get one thing wrong. That is what I'm saying. And I think that her answer was not perfect, but I don't think it should be in a news cycle for an entire week.
Listen, I don't disagree with what you're saying, and I accept that. But also remember, I mean, listen, what happened with Hillary Clinton, who's a white woman, you know, that talked about her voice and that she was defensive and she was robotic and whatever. It's often something, I don't want to mansplain, but you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. It's often something that happens to women, especially women who are in power. Am I wrong?
And she's held to a higher standard.
Black
and
women.
she's and she's held to a higher standard, and she has acknowledged that many times, and she needs to continue to point it out.
Yeah. Thank you both. I appreciate the conversation.
You.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so as you can see there, right? The first guest on Joy Reid's show was talking about how much, it's an accomplishment that Kamala, a Black woman, leaves the country as vice president to go to Central America, and isn't that great? And then the second segment I showed you guys on Don Lemon with that guest, they're basically talking about, oh my God, Kamala's being held to a higher standard because she's a black woman. Women are often called flippant, and their attitudes are judged differently. And it's like, nah, bruh. No, that's not what's happening here. That's not what's happening here at all. Okay? What's happening here is that Kamala is being judged by her own damn words. Okay? Kamala, when Trump was having his little border crisis, they all went to the border. Not just her. All the Democrats went to the border for photo ops, okay, as if they could actually do something about the problem at the border, okay? Kamala did photo ops of her talking to these migrant children, okay? She talked about how she was going to shut down these same detention centers that are open under the Biden-Harris administration. So all that junk she was talking back then, now under her, this is happening. So she has to own up to it. And they talking about, well, it's just one question. She shouldn't be judged so harshly for it. It's not about it just being one question. That's not what it's about. It's about the fact that this has been happening for ever since the administration got in office. It's caused by them, right? Put it this way. They're a driving factor. Put it that way. It's not all on them, right? Because people were coming to the border under Trump, right? Obviously, there's an issue in Central America. So I'm even trying to be fair to Kamala, right? I'm not trying to be a complete partisan hack here. I'm being fair. There is a problem in Central America, but Kamala and Joe Biden threw fuel on the fire by encouraging them to come here, trying to appeal to the far leftists, okay, in their party on immigration. Now they have to deal with that after all that smack they talked under Trump. And it's funny because this is how politicians operate. A lot of these people think in the moment, right? And it really blows my mind how the Democrats did not think that this could possibly happen. Like, hey, you know what? This border crisis is a complex problem that really only can be solved with legislation in Washington. It might not be good for us in the moment of the border crisis that happened under Trump to come out here and go to the border and to do all this hooping and hollering against Trump, when if we win the White House, we will have to deal with the same issues, especially considering how the party is a lot more lenient on immigration than the GOP. So you would think they would have thought ahead about this and say, you know what, let's not get on Trump too much about this because we might have to face the same issue in the future. Again, in my opinion, it blows my mind they didn't think through this because they know how complex the problem is. They know they just can't shut down border facilities. They know why those facilities are there. They were opened under Obama in the Biden administration. So they know damn well what they was getting into. But guys, there's a deeper issue going on here, guys. There really is. I think that there is tension between Kamala and the Biden administration, right? We already saw the White House come out and say, we don't know what's going on with Kamala. We're perplexed at her answers, right? This is obviously an assignment that Kamala does not want, right? And Biden gave her this assignment, right? While Jill Biden, Joe Biden's wife, is taking pictures of her on a plane going to the G7. Okay, Jill Biden is in Europe at the G7 summit, in which she's strongly implying that she's doing some type of work that probably the vice president wished she was doing, while the vice president is in Central America on an assignment that she obviously does not want. And again, remember, there was a report that came out like a month ago that Jill Biden told Kamala to go F herself for insinuating that Biden was a flaming racist, right, during a debate. So there's probably some tension in that White House, right? And it's not like Biden chose Kamala because Biden wanted her to be his running mate, right? Like, that's not how this stuff works. The party chooses a running mate based off who they think is the best match, right? Who can balance out the ticket the most to get the most votes, right? It's cast a broad net. Biden is supposed to be the more conservative, moderate Democrat. Kamala was supposed to be the more liberal, progressive woman of color that could get all the progressives on board with the Biden ticket. That's what it's supposed to be. Guys, I've explained this with Trump and Pence. Why was Pence Trump's vice president? It was a balancing act. It's to balance out the more religious and socially conservative, Republicans that weren't comfortable with Trump at the time, considering all the allegations that came out against him. That's why he was picked, right? This is politics 101. So it's not like Biden really handpicked her, right? The party probably said, listen, you got to pick Kamala. Okay. And that's what he did. So he's stuck with her now. And it seems like he's giving her all of the assignments that are no-win situations, and she's taking the heat for it, right? What's happening right now with the border, right? There's no solution for this outside of real legislation. She's going to take heat from the Republicans no matter what. He also assigned her the For the People Act, right? To pass that, which again is a major progressive priority, in which that's basically dead on arrival as well. There's no way they can pass that thing right now. So Biden is giving Kamala all the assignments that he don't really want to deal with, that are no-win situations for her, in which she's going to take a massive amount of backlash, right? She's taking backlash from the progressives on immigration, guys. I mean, AOC came out and was like, hey, what are you talking about? Don't come. Like, what are you saying? AOC had an issue when Kamala telling immigrants not to come. And Kamala also is taking heat from the right for not visiting the border. So she's taking heat from both sides. Right? She's not going to be able to do anything on the For the People Act. So she's going to get heat from the progressives on that as well. And then you got the White House coming out saying that they're perplexed by Kamala's behavior. Biden is throwing Kamala under the bus, and it's so damn obvious. It's so obvious that Biden is throwing her under the bus. And that there is some tension going on in the White House. Now, I don't know if it's necessarily between Joe Biden and Kamala, or Jill Biden and Kamala, or both Bidens and Kamala. I don't know. But I think this Democrat civil war here is a lot more interesting than the GOP civil war, I will say. But this is something to watch, because Kamala is very frustrated with this issue, and it's not going to go away. The problem's not going away. And, moving forward into the future, her attitude really, in terms of how she handles this, really could change what the Democrats' plans are in the future in regards to Kamala taking over for Biden. Because again, Biden is get up there in age, man. He's really losing it. So, I mean, his ability to run and win in 2024, that's a serious question. And with Kamala being the vice president, she is the natural person to take over. But is she actually cut out for the job? It seems like she's not really cut out for this VP position, right? She's not really cut out to handle the pressure, even though, again, she's getting pressure from her own party, right? From inside the White House. So I understand why she's frustrated. I would be pissed off too if I was her. But like I said, I mean, if there's tension there, and Kamala's not handling this stuff well, can they afford for Biden not to run? Can they afford to run Kamala Harris in his place? I don't think so, man. I really don't. But I mean, the thing is that Biden has avoided real criticism on these very touchy issues, because he's passed off everything that he's tried to do and everything that he's failed at to somebody else's fault. Oh, well, the border is Kamala's fault. The For the People Act, that's Kamala's fault. Oh, infrastructure, that's Joe Manchin's fault. That's Kyrsten Sinema's fault. Don't blame me for anything. Biden is finessing right now. He really is. He is finessing the game. And Kamala is the scapegoat. All these other people, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, they're the scapegoat. And it's working. It's working. Because the progressives are blaming Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema for the infrastructure bill not going anywhere. The progressives and the right are blaming Kamala for the border. Biden's just like, I'm going to the G7 with Jill. Right? So this is some interesting stuff going on between the Democrats. I definitely think there is some tension here, and I will continue to cover this because it deserves to be talked about. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.